There's three types of errors in terms of programming. We're just going to look at the first two. So you've got syntax errors, logic errors, and you've got execution errors. The two that we'll look at are syntax errors. So quite often it's when you've actually missed out a piece of code, and quite more often than not you've misspelled a piece of code. Okay, so that's a syntax error. Logic errors, it might be you're displaying a piece of data before actually asking for it. You might be using an and instead of an or. It might be the wrong arithmetic formula, so you might be multiplying instead of dividing. Logic ones are quite often the hardest to find, because more often than not your program still works and you're still seeing an output. And a lot of people then think, well, if I'm getting an output, that program's working. But when you actually test it and look at what the output is compared to what you're expecting, you'll sometimes find it's not actually outputting what you're expecting, and there's a good chance there's a logic error. With syntax errors, more often than not, when you run a program with syntax error, it does flag up that there's a problem with it. Okay, so let's have a wee and we'll look at execution errors later. Okay, so here's an example of a program that expects you to enter a level between 1 and 10, and it's basically an example of a syntax error because your receive level, while level, so this is the previous examples we've done. SND, well, that should, the line 3 is where the error is. It's a syntax error, and you should be spelling it SEND. Okay, so obviously this is pseudocode, and when we do Python you'll find this, the same sort of errors appear. Okay, so this example is a spelling mistake. Here's a logic error, so it's asking you program expected between 1 and 10, so it's the same program, so it receives a level and then it sends, oh, it's the wrong level, and then it goes into the while loop. Now what it's saying here is, well, you're actually putting out an error before you actually test to see if the person's entered the correct data or not. So the errors within 1 and 2 and 3, now if you swap them, so you'll say while it's less than 1 or it's above 10, then you can send out the error message. So the logic error here is the fact that you've got these two lines muddled up. Okay, so you just swap these two lines. So that's really a wee kind of introduction to the two types of errors, and when you start programming you'll find that you're getting these errors quite a lot at the very start, and then obviously you've got some examples for you to have a go at.